This is News Guardian. News Guardian. With Greg Aldridge and Chip Tarbutton on WFJX Fox Radio 910.
Hello, comrades out there in the United Socialist States of America. It's News Guardians with Greg Aldridge and the Chef.
Good morning, Chef. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Hey, did you have a good weekend?
It's raining outside. The Ministry of Weather says it's raining today.
What? Is it supposed to rain?
It doesn't matter whether it's supposed to rain. The ministry says rain, it's rain.
What about tomorrow?
Tomorrow, rain also.
Did it rain last weekend?
It depends.
Oh, well, thanks for coming in, Chef, Comrade Chef.
Must do my patriotic duty to the motherland.
So, have you been watching Nevada?
Absolutely. Wow.
There's been a lot of reporting about this situation in Nevada. Not all of it necessarily accurate, but what I notice most is the confusion over just what it is that's really going on out there. So if you've been hearing about the rancher who is having his cattle stolen and the militias, armed militias went out to save him, and then you're just not quite sure what's going on, or you think you know what's going on because you watched cable news. We're going to talk about that this morning and see if we can't clear the fog in the mystery that is the Nevada story.
Yes, weather is foggy.
So, and also, we want to be there to help clear the fog in an event that's coming up in less than a month now. Actually, just over a month now. The Operation American Spring is going to happen in Washington, D.C.
Big deal, folks. Big deal.
And I've been receiving information from various leaders and from people that are planning to go, and they claim to already have gotten commitments from over 1 million people on their way to trying to get 10 million people to show up in Washington, D.C.
Which, of course, the mainstream media will report 10 people showed up.
Right,
so.
and that's why we want to go and report to you ourselves and tell you exactly what's going on. To do that, we need you to sponsor us to go to D.C. You can go to the website, newsguardians.com, click the donate button, donate whatever you can. Don't donate your next car payment or tonight's dinner. Only donate what you can afford to do, but understand that nobody else is going to do what we're going to do. Nobody else is going to go up there and give you the unabashed truth with their own eyes as to what's going on. If you think you're going to watch it on Channel 7, you're not. If you think you're going to read it in the Roanoke Times, you're not. If you think you're going to turn on Fox News on cable news, you're still not going to get the honest story. And I can tell you from experience, because I have been at these marches. I have watched these things for myself, and I have watched the news coverage of them in all shapes and forms, and been very angry at the misrepresentation of what's going on. So, if nobody else will do it right, we're just going to have to do it ourselves.
That's right. But freedom's not free. That's why I'm here on Monday to help my buddy Greg. Hey, I'll tell you, Greg and Chip have been doing this stuff for years at their own expense, traveling all over, standing up for freedom, standing up for the Constitution, wherever they can. And just to mention, people that want to donate, that don't want to donate online, and listen, I don't blame you at all. There is an address that you can mail in a payment, and look, just... we know people are working hard. Things are tough out there. Anything you can do, but it's important. You look at the thing in Nevada. I mean, people at their own expense stood up and look at the result. And that's what it's going to take every day, over and over and over again. The problem is that we're fighting our own money. These people. 24 hours a day, well, the days that they work, which is only, 2 or 3 months a year, but it's taxpayer funded. you know, and these guys are working tirelessly to deprive you of your freedoms. We have to work tirelessly to get them back. So that's just.
So if you don't want to use the online donation, you go to the website, go to the donations page, and there's an address.
And listen, you're not being paranoid about that. You
can send a check, make the check out to Guardians Group.
That's right.
If you make it out to News Guardians, it'll be the bank will take care of it. But to get it right, send it to Guardians Group, and the address that's there on the screen. It's Post Office Box 4122, Roanoke 24015. And we're gearing up now. In fact, we're trying to get donations from you. We're trying to find some local businesses that want to sponsor the coverage, because we're going to have a lot of people listening in to hear this live report, to find out what's going on. And it'll be interesting to compare what we see with what people back here are getting from other media. When it's all said and done,
Ministry of Information.
Yeah. Well, we're going to try to get some people here to record the news reports, so when we get back, we can do kind of a comparison of what happened and what they said happened, since we will have been there to see with our own eyes.
Nothing to see here, folks. Nothing here at all.
Also, this morning we're going to talk about how the lies over racism are inserted into Common Core curriculum. You're going to love this.
In the textbooks.
Oh, this is great. Uncle Sam reviving the feudal practice of collecting debts from the children of the people they claim own them. And I don't mean from the estate of the deceased. I mean from the children, right, long after an estate has been settled. We're also going to talk about a man who was arrested at the Hadron Collider, claiming he was from the future.
In the year 2000.
That and more. So let's dispense with the Common Core story, and then we'll go to break. When we come back, we'll start trying to clear up the mystery that is the reporting over what's going on out in Nevada. But here's what's here's what's printed in a school book. A history school book is a part of Common Core curriculum. On this particular page, it's got a picture of Barack speaking. Now, not a picture of Barack speaking as president. This is a picture of Barack speaking as a candidate, and it's at a Democrat function.
Premier Obama.
And the little caption says, Barack speaks at the Democratic National Convention. And what this is talking about, what they're trying to tell you is, in this thing, is that America's a bunch of racists, and nobody believed that since we're a bunch of racists that you could have a black president. But somehow a bunch of racists ended up with a black president. That's the gist of this. But it says, some people said Americans weren't ready for that much change. This is quoting right out of the book. Sure, Barack was a nice fellow, they said, but white voters would never vote for a black president. Other angry voices were raised. Barack's former pastor called the country a failure. White people will never vote for black people, according to the Common Core curriculum.
This is what's going to be pounded into your child's head. I mean, wow.
Now, here's the funny thing. The funny thing is that the exact opposite, from my perspective, of what that says is true. Sure, Barack was a nice fellow. No. I do not believe Barack is a nice fellow. I think that's exactly the opposite of reality. White voters would never vote for a black president. Wrong.
That's right.
I would absolutely vote for a good candidate, regardless of what his race was. This is exactly the opposite of reality. And once again, we wake up. We wake up to a world where black is white, white is black, left is right, up is down. This is absolutely insane.
America.
If Bishop Jackson were running for president, the black pastor Bishop Jackson, I'd be the first in line.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd be the first in line. If Clarence Thomas were to have run for president, I would vote for Clarence Thomas.
On the strength of the man's character.
Alan Keyes. In fact, I did vote for Alan Keyes in that primary 20 years ago when he was running to be the Republican nominee. I voted for Alan Keyes, a black man.
Well, they've made the SOL so bad, and that system is so, people, that I know, actually, I have family members that are teaching that that say the SOLs are so bad that Common Core, they actually are looking to Common Core some kind of improvement.
Common Core looks good compared to that.
Yeah, well, seriously, but that's what you get when you get government involved in everything.
So if you think not being involved is going to be okay because it'll all work out, this is what they're teaching school children. This is what's in the curriculum. It's not just crazy new ways of doing math, okay? It is
this goes right back to Marx and the Communist Manifesto.
Yes,
I mean, if you can control the education, it only takes a generation or two to fundamentally change.
Yeah.
And listen, they apply those principles every day. Look at Rules for Radicals. And the problem is that you have the people, on the right, you have people that believe in hey, you're the terrorists, folks. You are the terrorists out there, according to your own government.
Well, and according to Homeland Security, which sits outside my window.
Absolutely.
If you don't believe me, go to newsguardians.com and check out the picture. I took that from my desk.
Oh, you're just paranoid, Greg.
I took that picture
You're
sitting
paranoid.
at my desk.
Oh, you're paranoid. They're just guarding the mailbox across the street.
The interesting thing about this, then we'll go to break, is that they're not even hiding it anymore. I mean, that page I read to you from that textbook, that's just blatant reprogramming and propaganda. They're not even, the people that are doing this to us feel so empowered.
That's right.
Empowered with what they're doing that they don't even try to hide it anymore. It is right in your face.
If you try to call them on it, it's all Constitution and sovereign immunity. Then they remember what that document is. But boy, if it's going the other way. And I think I'm really excited, and I don't know, I probably should not even let the cat out of the bag, but here very, very soon, I think you guys are going to get to hear the story of Howell Woltz, who's got a powerful, powerful tale to tell about...
He's coming to town.
Yep.
In fact, that'll be the first week of May, and we'll talk more about that as it gets closer. But we're going to have him here on the show.
That's right.
And then we're going to do an event right here in Roanoke, and you will be able to see his short film about what happened to him, and he'll tell the story.
Yeah, he's got a book
and
too, Justice Denied by Howell Woltz, and it is that what's with the tale that's happened to him. Cost him his life and everything. Very, very powerful tale, but unfortunately, it's becoming all too common this day and age here in the U.S.
All right. In the meantime, if you want to read our stories or donate, don't forget, we need your donations. Go to newsguardians.com. We'll be back and see if we can't clear some of the...
All one word, News Guardians.
See if we can't clear the fog on the cattle ranch story from out in Nevada. We'll be back. Fox Radio 910.
News Guardians on Fox Radio 910.
And we're back.
Yes, comrade.
Once again, a special thanks to Shep for coming in on Mondays with us. It's a lot of fun. And
after 6 15-hour work days.
People are enjoying our weekly guests that we're having now.
It's awesome.
I'm getting a lot of feedback. A lot of feedback when you're on. Last week when we had Melissa from the local Libertarian Party, I got a number of people that said they really enjoyed listening to Melissa. Al Bedrosian, Tuesdays with Al, people go nuts. I mean, it's
celebrity status.
And with him, it's a little bit different because he's a member of the Board of Supervisors here in Roanoke, and to have that kind
donate, folks, so you can call in. So you can call in with your problems to Al.
To have that kind of access to a lawmaker, a local lawmaker, is unheard of. What other member of City Council, Board of Supervisors, or elected official in our town gives every week to somebody like us to ask them questions and talk to them unabashedly for an hour on the radio? Nobody. That's
awesome.
That's unheard of.
Well, and this is why I'm coming down here after the 5 hours of sleep to support you, because I believe that that having a local voice and having something outside the mainstream media is that important. So I'm trying to do my part, man, to support you. I would request, and I know we've got a lot of stories to cover, I'm going to let you get to it, but I would request that we talk during the commercial break. You and I can talk Virginia Medicaid expansion, because that's something that I've heard a lot of stories on today, and I know that I've heard people talking about it, and it's really being misrepresented in the media. So.
Well, we can give an update on that, because some things have happened since Friday, and I talked to a couple members of the House of Delegates over the weekend when I went down to Wytheville. They had a convention down in Wytheville this weekend that I was down there for. So yeah, when before the end of the show, we'll give kind of an update of where we're at with that. The other news talk station in town had a fairly long reporting on that this morning, and they're still missing the point. But that's why we're here. We're not the news. We're the news guardians.
That most of you people who are actually informed are actually not informed.
Yeah. So, Nevada. Let's see. Give you a background of the story here. Clive and Bundy's family has owned this land, has been grazing on this land. Well, they've owned grazing rights since the 19th century. And the increasing encroachment of federal control started to rear its head
on state land.
This is state land, not federal land.
State land, not federal land.
It started back in the early 20th century. And what was going on then was the ranchers, various ranchers in the area, were having disputes over water rights for the cattle to drink. And so the feds got involved strictly on a volunteer basis, and the ranchers volunteered to become a part of this process to let the feds settle the water issues there to everybody's satisfaction, which happened.
They got their foot in the door,
exactly.
Folks.
So then you fast forward a few decades to EPA.
The desert tortoise, baby.
And the land then, state land, then became co-opted by the federal government once they decided that the habitat of the desert tortoise needed to be protected. That's when the feds took control of it. Now, the feds didn't buy it.
This would be the same tortoise that they had to euthanize 1,000 of these tortoises last year because
the state didn't. None of these people agreed to let this happen. This was the federal government saying, this is the way it's going to be now. We're the federal government. We can do whatever we want. So then they took control of the land. So now it falls under the Bureau of Land Management. So along in this process, now just so everybody can be clear, because a lot of accusations have been made as to whether or not the Bundys owe fees or have not paid their rent.
Well, they paid fees, I think, to the county.
They've been paying the fees to the state and the county that they were supposed to pay and always have. They have been to court almost 20 times to fight the feds in state courts over the feds coming in and trying to impose regulations and restrictions that the feds don't have authority to, and they won. So what did the feds do? The feds pulled it out of that and they put it in their own court. The feds took it to their own federal court where they could be controlled because the judge is a federal employee.
That's right.
And of course, in the federal court, the feds win. So he fought it by saying, I'm not paying any attention to you.
The federal court, which once again, back to Howell Woltz, is absolutely a broken system.
Oh, yeah. Well, and it's used just for the feds to get their way. That's in a lot of cases. The federal court system
steamroll you. If they don't win, they'll just keep bringing it back over and over and over again.
And
we saw that happen here locally with a local doctor who shall go unnamed. That they couldn't get him here in Roanoke. They just take him down to Abington and bring him up under a whole slew of and they just keep hammering away at you until you give up.
So they go after this rancher over and over and over again. Now, the fees that he's supposedly not, his rent that he's supposedly
grazing
not paid,
fees,
these grazing fees, this is not something that the state, the county, or the rancher recognizes as legitimate. This is federally imposed things that came after the fact.
That's important to note, too, is that the state of Nevada, that a few of these cases, he's had state judges side with him.
So, yeah, this is not as simple as he didn't pay rent, and that's a lot of the news.
That's what the state, that's what the mainstream media is reporting.
A lot of the news reports are trying to have you believe, well, he hasn't paid rent, and that's why this is happening.
They also reported that the BLM brought in rangers, quote unquote, from other states when they were in fact mercenaries.
So. It finally got to the point where they were able to get a judge to give them an order to completely completely take control of the situation and use force if necessary. And that's what's been going on. They've sent armed feds, whether they be hired mercenaries or actual agents. They armed them. The judge said, we'll let you go do it. And so they started stealing his cattle. Now, all of this is over a federal the federal taking of power that it didn't have in the first place, that the state says it doesn't have, the state court says it doesn't have, that the owner of that nobody involved.
The only thing the governor of Nevada did was stand up against these First Amendment. And then they create First Amendment zones, so anyone going to support Bundy gets crammed into a First Amendment zone.
So that's the background of what's going on. Now, when we come back from break, we're going to talk about the very underreported story of why they actually are taking this land. And Senator Harry Reid, his son, and a Chinese deal to build a solar farm is all wrapped up in why the feds have decided to use deadly force, not only to steal this man's cattle.
A member of the Politburo, Greg?
But arrest his son, tase innocent citizens doing nothing but exercising their First Amendment rights.
I think that people are lucky that nobody got shot down there.
Well, not yet. We're News Guardians. Check it out, newsguardians.com, Fox Radio 910. We'll be right back.
Thanks, comrades.
Don't even talk about the consequence, because right now you're the only thing that's making any sense to me, and I don't give a damn what they say or what they think, because you're the only one who's on my mind. I'll never ever let.
This is News Guardians with Greg Aldridge and Chip Tarbutton on WFJX Fox Radio 910.
Hello, comrades. Out there in the United Socialist States of America, welcome back to News Guardians with Greg Aldridge and Comrade Chef.
It feels like that on many days.
The Ministry of Information, yes.
You know, we were this close to having a federal agent standing here next to us, just observing.
That's right.
While we do the news, and I don't just mean here.
Not so free.
At every news gathering entity in the country that they actually tried to do that
People have
two
no
months
idea.
ago. So we're talking about the rancher situation out in Nevada, and we kind of gave you the background before we went to the break to bring you up to where we are now. And over the last few days, it's been reported that that armed militias went out there. It's been reported that they gave him his cattle back. It's been reported that, I mean, there's been a ton of things reported. Now let's clarify some of the things that are going on, because oftentimes when they report something in the news, they don't describe it in a way that has you understand exactly what they mean.
What? No.
When they say they've given him back his cattle, they have not physically transported the cattle back to his ranch and said, here you go. They basically have said, well, we're not going to take any more, and you can have the ones we took. But they're not bringing them back for him. They're still over there in the pen. The ones that lived through the process of either being herded or scooped up by helicopters.
Oh, to hear the story, you would have thought there were mea culpas and the trucks rolled the cattle back in. I mean, they were like swooping down with helicopters and snatching the
here's what's going on.
I'm surprised they're not going to bill him for the removal.
Yeah, in the most specific way I can. The Bureau of Land Management, who was working this operation, has decided it will no longer enforce the court order that it got to remove cattle for now.
For now.
Right. This is just temporary. They can decide to. They're not getting rid of the court order, mind you. The court order still stands, as illegal as that court order may be. It still exists. Right. They're just choosing not to enforce it for the moment. So this is not ultimate victory. This is a pause.
But hooray and kudos to all of the people from many different states that went out to support this man.
Now, a lot of people are comparing this to the standoff with the young Chinese guy in the tank in Tiananmen Square 2 decades ago.
Yeah.
And you know, it's kind of similar.
Didn't that guy get run over by the tank?
No, the tank. But I think he got arrested before it was over with. The Bundy family says that they've owned and used the 600,000 acres since 1870. That's how far back this goes. Now, the major dispute began in 93 when the feds reclassified this state land as federal property to protect the rare desert tortoise. Now, make sure you understand that. The feds did not come to him and buy the land. They did not go to the state of Nevada and purchase the land. The feds reclassified the land, which means this property, which the feds did not own, according to their reclassification,
they jacked it.
It just
suckers.
It just became theirs.
Give it up.
And it didn't become theirs because anybody voted for it.
I'll tell you what, gangster, straight gangster. You go BLM, you take that land.
Honestly,
you want it, you take it.
In many cases, gangsters are entirely more fair about these situations than our government is.
You ain't got to tell me, man.
Federal officers stormed the property a week ago with helicopters and snipers.
If you don't know it, you'll know it on the 15th when you file your taxes, baby. Give it up. You got to pay, people.
At the point they stopped, they had already seized 350 of his cattle. Now, along the way, here's another thing people don't know.
I'm sure he did not raise those cattle by himself, Greg.
Along the way of the federalization of this area,
those were the state's cattle.
he went from grazing a few thousand to grazing 1,500.
I'm sure they broke him with legal fees and 20 years of court battles.
They just kept telling him he couldn't have that many.
Yeah,
they just kept reducing the number that he's allowed to graze on this 600,000 acres that he's been doing for his family has been doing for 140 some years.
That's right.
So.
Tell us about the Reeds.
This is.
Tell us about our fine Politburo member Harry Reid and how he's involved.
And now this is really amusing, and what I've come to see in these situations is these things don't happen just because.
Let's talk softly like Harry Reid.
Because there's a good.
Give up your cattle, Mr. Bundy. I'm going to send the BLM in with machine guns to take them from you.
These things.
But I'll do it with such a calm voice that you'll think it's okay.
These
Nothing
things
to see here, people.
They don't happen because there's usually a legitimate purpose to it.
I've been neutered.
There's a catalyst. There's always a catalyst to these things. When the government starts doing things that don't make sense, and they start having to create regulation that is illegal, and they have to, and they lose court battle.
Good comrade.
And they lose court battle after court battle, only to have it moved into a federal court where they can control the situation. It's not because they're fighting for right. It's because somebody is up to something. And guess what? In Nevada,
that sounds like conspiracy theory.
On the Bundy farm, somebody's up to something.
That's right. Those criminals out there raising cows, raising food, beef for people to eat. There's got to be something illegal about that, damn it.
So here we go. This is the what's going on behind the scenes that you didn't know. The headline, bombshell, documents show Harry Reid and a Chinese company are behind the Nevada ranch standoff.
Dun, dun, dun. Nothing to see here, folks.
Amid the growing standoff between Nevada rancher Cliven Bundy and the federal government, reports are growing that Senate Majority Harry Reid's little-known ties to a Chinese solar energy giant could be playing a major role in the confrontation.
Little voice, little-known ties.
Democrat Harry Reid from Nevada and his oldest son, Rory, a former... Now get this.
Rory.
Get this, because this is...
Harry and Rory.
Because this is going to... you're going to love this. Rory is a former chairman of the Clark County, Nevada Commission.
Of course.
Which is how he managed to get the sweetheart deal on the land that you're going to hear about in just a second, because he's a government insider.
Oh my!
He and his dad, like most politicians, using their position in government to enrich themselves.
Here it is, folks.
Here it comes.
This is the story that you didn't get on CNN right here.
Now, both of these gentlemen are deeply involved in a plan by ENN Energy Group to build a huge solar farm in the southern Nevada desert. Land that the Bundy family has been using for cattle ranching is getting in the way of that project, according to documents
daggone Bundy
posted on the Bureau of Land Management's government website, but have now been removed.
It's green energy, folks.
Now, the documents that showed how this was working was on the BLM website, and they got taken off.
I'm sure they did take them down
as soon as they got caught.
Gosh.
The acting director of the Bureau of Land Management, Neil Cornsey, who is, you know who the guy that runs BLM is? He's a former senator.
Cornsey?
Yes, he's a former Senator Reid senior policy advisor.
These people?
The former senior policy advisor to Harry Reid is running the BLM and is the one stealing the cattle.
Oh my God!
It gets better. Hold on.
You couldn't write stuff like that. You couldn't make stuff like this up.
It gets better. It gets better. If you read one of the documents, because this is how they found the documents, is they went to the Wayback Machine where you can see what old websites used to look like, and they found the documents that were on the website before they took them down.
Wow.
Now, in these documents, it says non-governmental organizations have expressed a concern that the regional mitigation strategy for the Dry Lake Solar Energy Zone utilizes Gold Butte as the location for off-site mitigation for impacts from solar development, and that those restoration activities are not durable with the presence of trespass cattle.
Oh, there you
And
go.
who is the trespass cattle? The Bundys, using their own land.
You trespassers and usurpers.
Back in 2012, the New American reported that Harry Reid's son, Rory, was the chief representative for a Chinese energy firm planning to build a $5 billion solar plant in Laughlin, Nevada.
It's green energy, folks. Yes, green energy.
It was also reported by Reuters that his dad was heavily involved in the deal.
Oh my goodness! And I mean, and here to hear CNN tell it, Bundy owes $1 million. All this is justified. What a load of horse pucky.
Reid has been one of the project's most prominent advocates, according to Reuters, helping recruit the company during a 2011 trip to China and applying his political muscle on behalf of the project in Nevada. So Senator Harry Reid wants to set his son up in a $1 billion company to make a ton of money for the family, so he goes over to China. Hi, I'm Senator Reid.
Probably flew over there on the taxpayer dime, too.
Set up this thing and said, don't worry, I have my friend running the BLM. We'll clear the land in Nevada for you to build this solar farm.
Look,
don't worry.
That's right. I mean, talk about the mob, dude. These guys are straight up mafia.
Here's where Rory, as a former member of the board of supervisors in that area, this is where this comes in. His son,
Rory's son now.
Yes, Rory. This is
Rory Jr.
Yes. They located a 9,000-acre desert site that they're able to buy well below the appraised value from Clark County. Because when you're connected to government and your friends are running the show, they'll cut you a sweet deal, just like right here in Roanoke.
It reeks so bad I can smell it from here.
Just like right here in Roanoke, when our city council,
that's right,
3 of which are up for re-election, Dave Trinkle, Bill Bestpitch, and Ray Ferris sold the old YMCA building downtown for $10.
That's right.
This is how you get sweet deals, folks, is to cozy up to the people in power and
a lifetime of health care exempt from the new law because they pass laws that they are exempt from.
When reached for comment on Wednesday, before the news got out about the solar farm and Reid's son, Harry Reid's spokeswoman Kristen Orthman said, Senator Reid hopes the trespassing cattle are rounded up safely so the issue can be resolved.
I'm going to tell you what, that's probably why they backed down and we didn't have a bloodbath out there, is because Harry Reid probably got on the phone and was like, this could end up very badly for me. Good grief. I mean, you want to talk about...
He called his former senior policy advisor and said, you're going to have to back off the stories out. They figured out what I'm doing.
Buddy. I mean, whoa, dude, whoa.
So,
Gangster.
Now you know.
Gangster.
Now you know what we were able to find out about this situation. So don't let them tell you this man deserves it because he didn't pay his rent. That's bull. Don't let him tell you that all of this is just about saving the habitat for the tortoise, because that's bull too.
Propaganda fail.
This is about an age-old story, and that is people using the force of government to enrich themselves and their friends at the behest of law-abiding, innocent citizens.
It's getting worse.
It's exactly
every day.
what's going on here.
And thank God people went and stood up for this man.
We've got to go to break. This segment was brought to you by Bramilton Computer. And when we come,
computer broken?
It was.
Bramilton Computer.
It was broken. It was actually Elizabeth's News Guardian. Elizabeth's computer was broken because she was using a less than stellar virus protection software. That once there was a problem, the people she was paying the annual fee to, they told her that that problem is actually something you already had before we were here, so it's going to cost you $130 to get that fixed. So instead, I said no. I'm taking it to Keith at Bramilton Computer, and you know how much it costs to have anything to your computer done, as long as you don't need parts.
How much? I have no idea.
$50.
That's awesome.
$50 does it at Bramilton Computer. Whatever they need to do a backup, get rid of a virus, fix drivers, whatever it is, it's $50. And if something's physically broken and it needs a part, you pay for the part, but there's no extra installation fee of that part. $50 is all that it costs.
Shameless capitalism, folks.
That's Bramilton Computer. This is the News Guardians. I'm here with my good friend Chef, and we'll be back.
Yes, the chef.
We'll be back in just a minute. Fox Radio 910.
News Guardians on Fox Radio 910.
And we're back. You've got News Guardian Greg and
the chef.
our special guest chef this morning.
Comrade Chef.
Once again, thanks for coming in. And real quick, we'll remind you that News Guardians wants to go to the March on Washington on May 16th.
Send a man to Washington.
So we can report back live here on the radio and on the website exactly what's going on there. To do that, we need you to sponsor us to cover the cost.
Stand up for freedom, folks. You got to do something. Do something today. Support us. We're supporting you.
Go to newsguardians.com, click the donate button, and help us out. If you don't like doing things with your credit card over the internet, we're cool with that. You can just send a check to Guardians Group. The address or money order. The address is on the website, and but I'll give it to you. Post Office Box 4122, right here in Roanoke, and the zip code is 24015. Because
4122.
And we said we were going to talk about what's been happening with Medicaid expansion. I had a talk with a couple members of the House of Delegates over the weekend. And before we wrap up, don't go away, we're going to talk about the man who was... This just kills me.
From the future, folks.
Man,
from the year 2000.
Man arrested at large Hadron Collider claims he's from the future.
Dun, dun, dun.
So, I was talking to a member of the House of Delegates. And I was a little bit disappointed in this discussion because, I asked him what was going on with that, and he said, "Right now we're all together. We're all." And I said, "I get that, but you won't be all together when it finally gets to the end. When it's do or die time, and it's shut the government down, and you still don't have a budget, you're not going to all be they're
Nope.
Some people are going to fall out."
But this is apocalyptic to the state budget. I mean, make no mistake about it. And they're trying to sell it 6 ways from Sunday. Oh, it's private insurance companies. The bottom line is massive increase in state spending, wide open door for Obamacare. And I heard Bob Bell talking about it. Basically, this is like a nuclear bomb.
Bob Bell or Art Bell?
Rob Bell.
Rob Bell? Oh, Rob Bell, the state, yeah.
Yeah. No,
So,
Art Bell was not talking
I was like,
about.
what?
Although I love Art Bell. I don't know that he's.
I couldn't get him to tell me. I couldn't get him to tell me who the weak links were. And I mean, it may have been because there's some other people around, and he didn't want to name names in a public setting like that. But I'm going to keep pressing these people to find out, because we need to know who the weak links are so that we can start pressuring them now to understand that it will be politically destructive to their future if they break and sell us out on this issue. But here's why it's important, because as the chef just said, this isn't about covering the people who can't afford it. This is about the next step in shifting to complete socialized medicine.
This is mob-style politics.
And the way they did it, this is brilliant. The way they did it and the way they got the insurance companies to support it and spend money trying to propagandize us with ads to make it happen is that in the beginning, the money's going to be socialized. They're going to tax us, take the money, and use that to pay for people's health care.
They're giving it to private companies.
Right. But at this step of the game, they're going to allow people to have private insurance. The government's going to give you the money to pay your private insurance company with. Then once they have all of us dependent on the government giving us the money we're using to pay for our health insurance with, then they cut the insurance companies out.
It's a big buy-off. It's a big buy-off.
The whole thing is a scam. We're being scammed.
Sort of like TARP.
And we're at the beginning of a process and they're doing it smart because when Hillary Clinton wanted to give us socialized medicine, she just created socialized medicine.
It's progressivism, baby.
And
you got to take
no.
it in little spoonfuls.
So this time around, they created a stair-step process.
Before you know it, you all be good little Nazis.
All right, before we have to go, I want to tell you about this.
Please, I want to know about our traveler from the future group.
Eli Cole, a strangely dressed young man, said he had traveled back in time to prevent the LHC from destroying the world. A would-be saboteur was arrested at the Large Hadron Collider in Switzerland. He made a bizarre claim that he was from the future. Eli Cole said he traveled back in time to prevent it from destroying the world. The LHC successfully collides particles at record force, and earlier last week they broke a record, which was a milestone. That milestone was what Mr. Cole came back in time to attempt to disrupt by stopping the supplies, he said, of Mountain Dew to the experiment's vending machines.
What? What?
Because he believed that if he could just...
The supply of Mountain Dew.
He believed that if he could stop the restocking of the vending machines in the snack bar at the Collider facility.
I have to mention that Pepsi and Kraft products use aborted human fetal tissue in there. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
You had to.
I had
to. His plan was that if they stopped restocking the vending machines, the scientists wouldn't come to work because there'd be nothing to eat and drink in the vending machines.
That's right.
And this is how he was going to stop the program from destroying the world. He was seized by Swiss police after CERN.
I bet he was.
After CERN security guards spotting him rooting around in the bins.
In the Mountain Dew, folks.
Now, in case you don't know what CERN is, CERN is kind of like the NSA was 30 years ago. They called it no such agency because the feds wouldn't admit there was such a thing.
Well,
for the longest time,
scientific.
But in CERN's early beginnings, they kept that hush hush too.
Yep.
But now they're out in the open and they're just there
it's
messing
like
with
the Bilderberg group.
They're just there
not
messing.
Going on. Wait. Oh, it is going on.
They're just there messing with the atoms to make the world a better place.
People were worried that thing was going to create a black hole and suck the Earth into it when they fired it up, and there was legitimate concern.
Just because it hasn't done that yet doesn't mean it won't happen. Why do you think this man came back from the future? Obviously, something happened bad.
I think that they've had to change like some of the fundamental laws of physics. Some of the stuff they found out at this collider is really amazing stuff. So
we're the News Guardians. I'm Greg. He's Chef. Thanks,
Chef. Thank you.
Tomorrow, Chip will be here with Roanoke County Board of Supervisor Al Bedrosian, and I'll be back on Wednesday with Elizabeth. Have a good one.